Okay, let's talk about artificial intelligence. It's everywhere, and it promises to completely reshape our world. But behind all that hype, there's a really fundamental question we have to ask. Is AI a tool that's going to liberate us, or is it a tool that's going to control us? In this explainer, we are going to unpack that incredibly high-stakes balancing act. And that's really the central question, isn't it? Because the answer, as it turns out, is both. AI is a technology with this kind of dual personality. On one hand, it can create these incredible opportunities for fairness, but at the exact same time, it can be used to build powerful new systems for surveillance and control. So we're caught in this constant tug of war between two competing realities. On one side, you've got the promise, using AI to expand opportunity for people who've been left behind, but on the other, you have the peril, taking old human biases and just baking them into new code and enabling surveillance on a scale we've literally never seen before. All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at those two competing promises of AI. Then, we'll see a really powerful example of how it can expand opportunity. From there, though, we're going to pivot to the risks of algorithmic control, try to understand how bias gets baked right in, and finally, we'll explore the global quest for a much fairer approach to AI. So let's just get really clear about the core conflict here. This is not a simple story of good tech versus bad tech. No. It's about how the exact same capability, that ability to find patterns in huge amounts of data, can be used to either empower us or to control us. So let's kick things off on a really optimistic note and focus on how AI can actually fix real-world inequality. And a perfect place to see this in action is in the world of finance, specifically with something that affects millions of us, getting a loan. You see, traditional credit systems, they rely on things like old loan histories. Well, that often leaves people out. Think about gig workers, recent immigrants, or anyone in the informal economy. They become what's known as credit invisibles. And the result is what you see right here. Huge inequities, with data showing consistently lower approval rates for minority and other underserved groups. But what if you could build a much fairer, more complete picture of someone's financial life? Well, that's exactly where AI comes in. Instead of just looking at old loans, AI can analyze what's called alternative data, things like a consistent history of paying your rent or your utility bills on time. It creates a much fuller and, you could argue, a more accurate view of who's reliable. And wow, the results can be absolutely dramatic. The chart on the right shows what happens when AI models use this bigger data set. Just look at the jump in approval rates for underserved communities. I mean, you're seeing increases of 15, sometimes even 20 percentage points. It's an incredible demonstration of how AI can be used to actively correct for historical bias and create genuine financial inclusion. But that very same power to analyze massive amounts of data, well, it has a dark side. The same technology used to empower can just as easily be used to control. This has given rise to this really chilling concept called the algorithmic panopticon. This idea of a state of constant automated surveillance, where we're always being watched and judged by machines. The risk is so profound that the United Nations itself has sounded the alarm. They're calling for a moratorium, basically a temporary ban, on selling and using AI systems that pose a serious risk to our basic human rights. Things like tools for profiling and automated decision-making. One of the most controversial examples of this is in predictive policing. So these algorithms analyze past crime data to forecast future crime hotspots. But here's the problem. What if that historical data reflects biased policing, like the over-policing of minority neighborhoods? Well, the algorithm just learns that bias. And then it tells police to go to those same areas, creating this dangerous, self-fulfilling prophecy of discrimination. And this is exactly what civil rights groups are warning about. This quote says, "These tools provide a misleading and undeserved imprimatur of impartiality." Okay, in plain English, what that means is they put this scientific-looking shine on what can be deeply biased practices. The decision seems subjective, right? A computer made it. But it might just be laundering old prejudice through new code. And this isn't just a theory. This toolkit for control is already being used all over the world. You've got China's social credit system, which literally scores citizen behavior. You have companies like Clearview AI, which scraped billions of our public photos to build a facial recognition database without anyone's consent. The same tech that can fairly approve a loan becomes a weapon of surveillance. So how does a technology that has so much promise go so wrong? To get that, we need to pop the hood and really see how human bias gets baked into these systems right from the very beginning. The heart of the problem is something called algorithmic bias. Now, let's be super clear. This isn't about AI having personal prejudices like a robot being racist. No, it's about systematic errors in the system's logic that consistently produce unfair results, which almost always harm already marginalized communities the most. This diagram shows that feedback loop perfectly. It all starts with us, with humans, generating data with every single click, every post, every purchase. Service providers collect all that data. Algorithms then process it to make guesses about who we are. And then those algorithms make decisions that shape our lives, which just generates more data, and the cycle starts all over again. Bias can sneak in at any single stage of this loop. So this really boils down to three main drivers of bias. First, historical data. The AI learns from our past, and our past is full of bias. You feed it loan data shaped by redlining. Guess what? It learns to redline. Second, unrepresentative data. If a facial recognition system is trained mostly on pictures of white men, it's going to fail miserably for women and people of color. And finally, you've got the black box problem. A lot of the time, even the people who made the AI can't tell you why it made a certain decision, which makes it nearly impossible to hold anyone accountable. Okay, so just acknowledging these problems is the first step. The next step is actually doing something about it. And all around the world, there's a growing movement of activists, academics, and policymakers who are demanding that we build a better, fairer, more transparent future for AI. And this isn't just a technical problem. It's a social and political one. From the European Union's Big AI Act to new laws being debated in the US, there's a huge push for real, binding rules. The goal is to move past these voluntary corporate promises and create actual, enforceable laws that are all about protecting human rights. And this push is leading to a really powerful new idea. Not just algorithmic transparency, but algorithmic autonomy. See, it's not enough to just see how the algorithm works. Autonomy means giving us, the individuals, the power to shape our interactions with these systems, to align the technology with our own values, not just the company's goals. So what does that path forward actually look like? Well, experts have laid out a pretty clear framework. It means creating strong laws. It means demanding transparency and real human oversight, not just a checkbox. It means putting the voices of the communities most impacted by this tech front and center. And critically, it means having the courage to just ban certain applications, like mass biometric surveillance that pose an unacceptable risk to a free society. Ultimately, the future of this technology isn't written in code. AI is not destiny. It is a tool, and its impact is going to be determined by the choices that we all make right now. So the question we're left with isn't what AI can do, but what we as a society should allow it to do. And maybe the most important question of all is, who gets to decide?